we're going to talk about Lean Fire, what I learned about pros and cons, and why you learn a lot from it and what's so good about it. So, there are alternate routes to Lean Fire. If people don't know, there are other routes are such as Barista Fire, there's Fat Fire, there's there's Coast Fire, and if you don't know, and there's Traditional Fire. So if you don't know what they are, traditional fires, if you're looking for an aggressive saving investment plan, which means you aren't required to supplement your income, traditional fire is the best option. So it's just you're traditionally saving and you're living a normal means. Now, fat fire is whenever it's the opposite of lean fire. You live a very luxury lifestyle, but you have a really high cost of living. Lean fire is when you have a low cost of living and you can live without worrying about money in every single one of these, but one's being living cheaply, one's living more expensively. And coastal fire is is seen in younger participants where they invest a large portion of their income when they're young and they can stop investing and still achieve financial independence in the future. And Barista Fire is very similar to Coast Fire, but instead you um, retire early and you work part time to cover a portion of your expenses. So I'm considered Coast Fire. I already have saved all my money for retirement. I don't really have to invest anymore. But I am gonna say I'm Lean Fire right now because Lean Fire is more of what I have done. I don't have to work if I live a minimal lifestyle. But I'm gonna shoot for Fat Fire. So I'm gonna continue working so I can achieve that Fat Fire. And it's nothing like a 9 to 5 to help you out or side income. Now, one of the key reasons why I want to talk about this is because, you know, right now, people can't retire at age 65. And recent research indicate nearly 45 of American households might run out of money if they retire at 65. Additional about that stat, 1 in 4 adults over 50 expect to never retire. Now, that is not a very good stat. So, is 65 too early to retire? These are the articles that you have to worry about because if you can't retire um, even at the retirement age, what are you going to do? Here's another stat showing about 70% of older investors said they won't be able to retire at age 65, according to the National Survey Retirement Institution. Um, that's and another article saying here's why baby boomers in America are seriously financial trouble. Any of these reasons apply to you? Now, before those are just some of the articles that are out there saying these stats that you can't retire. You can't do anything like that because you're gonna run out of money or you didn't save enough. And this is where I like Lean Fire. Because Lean Fires, they have aspects of Lean Fires that discipline you in financial. And the key aspect of Lean Fire is you learn to be frugal. And that's the core principle about living below your means. So this involves cutting unnecessary expenses and focus on essential needs. So Lean Fire is very good at teaching you, hey, if I live frugal, now everyone's frugality is different. So someone's frugality could be in a $1 million mansion, and that's what they think is frugal. So and then someone could think frugal, hey, I'm gonna buy a couple acres and live in a trailer and be happy out there and pay, let's say, $20,000 a year on this frugality. So why judge people on it? It's everyone's goal is different. But the key aspect of Lean Fire is they're frugal, they have high saving rate, they live a minimal lifestyle, and they invest wisely in growing their saving over time. Some of the lessons I learned is I became very financial disciplined with my money. I don't go out there and buy the fanciest cars. I try to keep my car running, and I value the simplicity of life. And that's some of the key things that when I talk to other people who lean fire, they have these same core values. They're good at long term planning and the value of simplicity, financial discipline is all some of the values that we all have in the lean fire community. Now, there is a bunch of pros and cons about it. So I am lean fire. I don't have to really go to work. All my bills is covered, but I can't go on trips. I can't really do anything with my life. I'm kind of just stuck. So how do I get out of that? Well, get a passive income, a side hustle, which I got a side hustle, but it doesn't build enough time. So the issue with lean fire is you start retiring early, um, and you can't do nothing with your time. You can't because you built your lifestyle on a very minimalistic lifestyle. Most time people don't add vacation on it. You do get a lot of time back on your hands, but the con of getting all this time on your hand, what are you gonna do with it? So some of the pros and cons about lean fire. So lean fire is the fastest route to financial independence. Two, it supports a very minimalistic lifestyle. So it just covers your four walls and food and your bills. It doesn't really cover travel. It doesn't really cover any unexpected expenses. So it's very, very um, minimalist lifestyle. And with family and kids, it's really hard to do that whenever you want to do stuff. Now, you can find cheap thrills when you're doing lean fire, but those are like trips to the cinema, going bowling, and free local fishing trips on like lakes and the ocean. But you can only do so much with your time. And number four, the reason why I like lean fire on it is it lowers your stress level. It is such a financial freedom once you hit lean fire because then you're working or you have a side hustle to keep yourself busy and save for your next level. Lean fire is the first stage of retirement early. And I talked to a lot of people who are retiring right now that did the traditional retirement route. And one of them right now, he is 66. He's about to turn 67 and he's about to retire. He got a pension plan. He has his 401k all set up and his Social Security getting ready to be withdrawn. And I asked him, hey, what's your regret? He goes, my regret is not retiring early because he was always worried about the money. He said, but when I kept running the numbers, and I can retire making more money than I do at my 9 to 5. I said, then why did you keep working? He goes, I had nothing to do. Um, he can only play golf so much. So he kept working until they told him, hey man, you have to retire now because you are holding up a slot and we need to get a younger person in. So he's retiring because they're forcing him to retire. And he now came up with a plan to start traveling and everything like that. But, you know, those are some of the issues you come with it. You know, let me go over the pros again about, learning about lean fires. And, what I learned about it is, you know, first pro was fast route to financial independence. Second is support a very minimalist lifestyle. The third pro I found out about is finding a cheap thrill will help me out a lot. And four is lowering my stress level of about finance. Now, let's go into the cons about this lifestyle of lean five. If you don't work, you don't do anything, and you can get all your bills paid for, what are you going to do? Just sit at home and watch TV all day and pick up no hobbies, don't do anything? That's one of the cons, because that lean fire is very, best way to put it, lean fire is very lifestyle restricted. So you can't do as much, because lean fire, you have very minimalist on how much money you can get, because you are living a minimalist lifestyle. And then patient is required for lean fire. It's number two. And it's very, very bad about it, because living in lean fire requires planning, and a lot of it. It's not I'm gonna live lean fire and it just happens. It's so much planning in it, like every other retirement. But with lean fire, it's very, very detailed planning, because you have to plan for everything. Let's say you plan on lean firing, your total expenses with retirement and everything is $22,000 a month. Well, or not a month, a year. Well, you have to plan every penny out, and let's say you withdraw that $22,000 a year. Well, you have to give and take the information about how the market will do, if the market will do bad, and you have to budget out that 22,000 for the whole year. And that's going to be very hard. If your taxes go up, you have to plan for every little detail, because if your taxes go up, it'll throw your whole budget off. You don't have much wiggle room. So that's one of the cons about lean fire. And if anything happens, it can knock you out of your retirement early, because you're living a minimum lifestyle, and you can run out of money in this lifestyle, as per se, if you fat fire. The worst thing, if you fat fire, it'll drop you down to lean fire or coastal fire. And it's a whole different ball game whenever you have to drop from lean fire to having to find a job to make ends meet. So you have to pay attention to your retirement. Now, the other issue is number three with it is, or the big con is, reliance on passive investment. You know, with everything about retirement is required to focus on your passive investment and the growth of it. And if anything like COVID happens or anything dramatic, the market could take a 40% crash, 50% crash, and now you're knocked out of lean fire again if you're requiring those passive investments. Same thing with if you have rental properties. If you have rental properties and during COVID they are not paying it, well, that'll knock you out and you have to go back to work. And the fourth issue about lean fire is it's more challenging with the family. You know, according to stats about raising a family, it costs about 174,000 on average to raise one child. And that's a lot of money you have to spend. Now, everyone can achieve financial lean fire, but there's just the issue with it. Is that where you're gonna stop? You shouldn't shoot for just lean fire. You should shoot for fat fire. And yes, you can live a minimalist lifestyle, but what are you gonna do with your time? And if you do get bored at home and you're above the age of 55, 56, and you lean fire instead of trying to bump to coast fire or fat fire for the next 5, 6 years, it's hard to get back to the workplace at an older age. Um, it's not really a discrimination against you. It's that you will have a gap in your resume, and you'll have a long resume from your work history, and they can pretty much figure out your age from it. And I know as an employer they're not supposed to discriminate against your age, but how many people or how many companies is going to be trying to hire a 60-year-old, 62-year-old, and in a high paying job that they're going to need to rely on for the next 10, 20 years? So you're going to limit yourself. Even though you could have been an executive, you could have been this great person, great engineer, they can't lean on you no more because of your age, because you might be leaving the company to retire again and you're only doing this for a short time. This is what people think of when they hire someone that's an older age. So, how can you achieve these lean fire? Let's talk about how to make it easier. One is, where do you live? Achieving lean fire, one of the biggest factors is, do you live in a cheap cost of living place? If you live in New York and you're trying to lean fire with $100,000 a year, it's a lot harder than going to, let's say, North Dakota, where it's like $15,000-$20,000 a year, and it's very easy to acquire lean fire. Now, the other thing that will help you with lean fire is your house size. I'm not saying look into a small little house or a mobile home, but if you pick a smaller house instead of always going for that bigger, better house, your mortgage will be cheaper, your insurance be cheaper, your taxes be cheaper, and these are the things that factor in to help you lean fire earlier. And the biggest thing about lean fire is you're going to learn how to budget, and you're going to end up becoming a budget master, because that's what you're going to have to be focused on when you're lean fire. And you're going to be able to help everyone with it. And if you still worry that you can't do it, you're going to have to invest more aggressively. Whenever you start investing more aggressively, um, you're going to end up saving so much more money. But those are my pros and cons and my stories about lean fire. I'm shooting for fat fire right now. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and see y'all next time.